Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, and in this video we're going to continue on with the dynamic list view. Whether you're using this for an inventory, a quest list, or sort of an achievement list or something like that. Effectively the main topic is it's a list that you can update dynamically, add things to, and they can dynamically, it just takes in like a unique name at runtime, a unique image at runtime, or what have you. And it's based off several things. So we created this user interface, and then obviously when we run the game, did I press that? When we run the game, obviously I've set it to I. We bring up this little inventory or this window, and when we press a key on the keyboard, we're then populating this list with some items. And quickly at the end of the last video, what we did is we added, let me just check. We added just a random, sorry, when you press the E, we're creating an item, but we just pick some random thing just to demonstrate that everything can be different at runtime. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build on this today, and we're going to add in, I'm going to do like an item that you can pick up, and it'll do exactly the same. So it's basically, it's not necessarily adding on to this, but we're going to create an item which uses this system. And then I'm probably going to pause, see how much time we've got left, and look at data tables on how we can drive one of these lists to pull information from a data table. So whether that's a list of quests or a list of achievements or something which may or may not be dynamic. Dynamic in a sense of it can be changed. It will work through the list and populate work through the data table and populate the list with the right things. So let's jump into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start right from here actually. What we're going to do is going to create a new item. So I'm going to go back to my content browser, and I'm just going to create a Blueprint class. I'm going to go to actor. I'm going to call this BP underscore random item. Now I'm going to call it random item because I'm going to set it so then every time I pick it up, it picks a random name and a random icon to go with it. So BP random item. I'm going to go into here. Now, I'm going to need to walk into this, and I need an event to trigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a sphere collision, and that's going to be able to detect me walking into it. But that on its own is boring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a static mesh, and I'm actually going to add in a... Should I add in a sphere? I'm going to add in a sphere, and I'm just going to drag this sphere onto the sphere collision, just so it becomes a child of that. Now, the size of this is obviously too big, so I'm just going to lower this down until it fits inside. So I think, let me just set that back to 1. Click on this little padlock here, and we can adjust all of the values together in one to uniformly. So I'm going to change that to 0.5. That looks good to me. There's a good area around the sphere, which is going to pick up when we walk into it. Now, I'm going to actually make this hollow or like sort of no collision so I can walk through it. But if you want something static and hard that you could bump into, effectively, if you want it to stop your character, you're going to want to leave a little bit of space around it for the sphere collision to work. Because if you can't walk through it, i.e. if it's solid, there'll be no overlap event taking place. So before I forget, this sphere, I'm actually going to scroll down to collision, and I'm just going to say the collision preset, no collision. So I should be able to walk straight through it, and it shouldn't get in my way. Then a white sphere looks a little bit boring, so for me, I'm going to change this up. I'm just going to scroll down, and I'm pretty certain there's some sort of like grid or disk material. I think it was disk. Yeah, here we go, disk material. This gives you like this translucent bubble, and it just looks pretty neat. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more item inside that, add, and I'm just going to do a static mesh this time. And I'm going to look for, there's a helper icon. Let's have a look. Helper icon, there we go, editor helper. Now obviously that's really big, so I'm going to change this down to maybe 0.5. That looks okay. On the Y, I'm just going to move it down, let's say by 25 maybe, or 10. Looks okay. Change the perspective, let's change to the front. let's minus 25. That looks about centered. Compile, put that back to perspective view, and I like the look of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that out into my world. So go back to your content browser and just drag it into the game. And I'm just going to press play and just see what it looks like. Yep, so it looks pretty neat. And can I run through it? I can. So it's not getting in the way of my character. I can just walk straight through it. But obviously we're gonna make it disappear when we do walk over it, because it's going to be an item that you can collect. Okay, so sphere collision. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to pick on component begin overlap. So this is triggered when it detects something's overlapping it. Now your character will almost certainly be like this by default, but you want to make sure on your capsule component or your mesh, depends how you've got it set up. If you go to collisions, you should see here like you should block almost everything. So you're going to create an overlap event. If not, go to your sphere collision. Scroll up. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? I went straight past it. So I've overlap all dynamic. So you can see the pawn is set to overlap, which your character is a pawn. You can see that object type is pawn. So we're going to overlap it. The pawn itself is going to block. So we are okay. So this overlap event is going to work. Now, easier way to check it is just do a print string and hit compile, play, and then run over it. And you can see in the top left hand corner of the screen there, as I run over it, we get this little hello. So that's saying to me that this is working. So that's absolutely fine. Now, if you want to prevent other things from bumping into it, this is not what this video is about, but what you can do is you can do cast to character. You could do cast to third person character, which is going to be very, very specific to just this player character, your player character. But you can do cast to character as well, because this character is technically a character. The parent class is a character, so you can use that to, if you've got several different characters, maybe one's called third person character, one's called first person character, one's called Jeff, it doesn't matter. If they're all of a class character, this node will work, whereas this will only work for a third person, so it's a bit safer. Anyway, I keep going off on tangents here and not talking about what we're here for. So cast to a character, just to make sure that it is actually a character that's going to be triggering it. What do we need to do? So obviously our list requires an object to be created which has got the data of what its name is and stuff like that. So we are going to do that. So it's going to be construct object from class. So once we've made sure that it's actually a character, we're going to construct a class or an object. We call this obj. Here we go, obj list item object. And then as previously, it's asking us for what text do we want to display. So let's just call this random item to start with. Random item. Let's put rand, just because I don't know how many characters are set. So rand item. Display image, what do we want to display? Let's just do something silly. Bad size, that'll do. Okay, so once we've done that, we need a way of saying, right, add this to the list. So we can't just do add to list, because it's like, well, what list do we need to add to? Now, realistically, the heads up display is created on our character. If you remember from the previous video, we use this add item to list view using this reference, and we need to kind of do the same. Now, from this random item, we could use this cast if we use a third person, but it can be a little bit tiring because we'd need to do cast to third person, and then if we have another character, we'd also need to be able to cast to, I don't know, the knight player or shooter, depending on all the different types of characters, we need to cast to them all to be able to use that heads-up display, and that's not going to work. So this is where we introduce something called interfaces. So go back to our third person map. Let's right click and we'll go to blueprints this time and blueprint interfaces. Now what this does is you can assign an interface to multiple blueprints, and this is kind of a rough way of saying, hey, you two things share the same interface, which means you can kind of communicate with each other and send each other information. It's almost like they have a language specifically for themselves, where it's just like, hey, let's just get into it, and it'll probably explain itself. So I'm going to rename this to BPI for Blueprint Interface underscore interactions. You could do like pick up items or something like that, but technically it's an interaction of some sort for me. So BPI interactions. So first thing that it's going to do is actually you need at least a function. So I'm just going to call this pick up. Let's make that a little bit nicer. Pick up item. Pick up item. Okay, so that's it for now. We are going to come back to this and just fluff it out a little bit more, but just for its basic concept, a BPI, you can't actually write any code for it. You can't put any blueprint in here. But what you can say is that any blueprint that I'm going to assign this interface to is going to know what to do when I say, hey, you pick up an item, or hey, have you picked up that item, or something like that. They're going to know what to do. So let's go to our character. And what you want to do to access the sort of like interfaces and stuff like that is go to class settings. And you'll see here on the right there's interfaces. So at the moment there is no interfaces associated to this character. So let's add one. And you'll notice here right down at the bottom we've got our BPI interaction. So let's add that. Now on the face of it nothing's really changed, but if you look over here on the left you'll see interfaces and you can see, oh, pick up item. Interesting. Now the actual actor or the blueprint that you want to do the event, whenever I say, hey, you need to pick up, whoever I'm expecting to pick up the item is sort of like the event handler, if you will. What you can do is double click on it on the interface and you'll get this action. So whenever I hear a message, it's a bit similar to event dispatchers if you use them. Whenever I get a message or a notification or hey, you need to do this thing, it's going to trigger this event. So just for a bit of sanity, I am just going to move this all the way over here. So we're going to call this pickup item event. And realistically, what we want to do is whatever item we get, we want to add that to our list. We just want to add it to our list. Now our target's going to be the same. But what we can do actually is just duplicate this, just to keep it a little bit simpler. Let's put this into here like that. We're going to say it's the same target, so we want to add it to this tile view. But what item do we need? Well, we've not told it that yet. So what we can do is we're going to need to sort of bring what the item is along with this event. So that's the cool thing about interfaces is you can go back and you can say, right, whenever you use this pickup item, find out what item we've picked up as well, which is considered an input. So we want an input of pick up object. So I'm just going to put obj, and then this is going to be a obj. Let's find it. So we're looking for that object list entry thing that we created. Here it is. So obj underscore list item object, and we want the reference to that. Great. So every time we call this, we're going to expect to get this object reference. So hit compile, so it's there. And if we go back to our third person character and refresh this node, so right click, refresh node, you'll see now that object reference has appeared. Great. So let's plug that straight into item because that's what we're expecting. So every time we call this, now we're going to say, right, pick up the item. And by the way, this is the item you're going to be picking up. So we need to now go back to our random item and call this event and say, hey, here's an item, pick it up. Go back to the random item. So now what we're going to do is on this random item, we're going to go to our class settings and add the interface. Class settings, interfaces, add the interface, BPI interaction, just here. Hit compile, just so it loads through. And go to interfaces, and you can see here we've got this pickup item, but we don't want to run anything. We don't really want to make an event happen when we pick it up, but we want to send a message to say, hey, pick this thing up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag off here, and we're going to say pick up. And you can see here, I'm pointing with my finger, but you can see here under the class BPI interactions, you can see, do we want to do this pickup item event, or do we want to send a message to say, hey, anybody that implements this BPI as an event, do this thing. So we're going to do the message, we're going to send a message, and rightly it's saying, right, so who am I sending a message to? And by the way, you need to tell me what objects you're picking up. So we've created this object, so our return value actually becomes the object we're going to send in, and then really now we just need a target of who are we, telling that you need to do this thing. Now, luckily, our actor or our character should be overlapping this sphere. So what you can do, either as character or as the other actor, it doesn't really matter. Connect it to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click on this blue line just so then I can route it around this node just so it looks cleaner. I don't like things going through other nodes. So now we should have this random item and this bad image being picked up. So let's try this. So hit compile. Let's hit play. And actually I'm going to go back. I'm just going to press save just quickly. Just in case anything happens, I don't have to recover as much. Hit play. Okay, great. So now I'm going to hit I, I'm just going to have my inventory open, and I'm just going to run over this. So you can see there, I've got this rand item, and it's got a bad size, and every time I run over this, I'm adding a new one of these rand items onto my inventory. So that's using the interface system. Very, very simple. So again, you can set this up to have a random text and a random image, but it's pretty pointless. Yeah, you're probably going to know this is not likely to be a random item. It might be a random item, which actually the good thing is we can tie this into the data table thing, because maybe now we create a database or a data table of all the items that it could be, and we'll pick one at random. So every time you walk over it, it picks a random item. It could be that this is going to be a random weapon, or a random ammo, or something like that. Because that sometimes happens in games where you open up the mystery box and you get a random item. This might just be one of those, run into it and get a random weapon. Now, obviously, what you could do once you've picked up that item, then you can do destroy actor, and that'll disappear this from the world. So now we'll run into it. There we go. We've only got one item, and actually, why did that disappear? Let's try that again. That's interesting. Is that let's add a bit of a delay. I hope a delay helps. My theory is that it's destroying itself before this has had chance to work. Let's have a look. Ah, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Maybe destroy is not a good idea. We'll come back to that. I don't want to divert this one because of that. Yeah, okay, that's thrown me a little bit. Before we get onto DataTables, I'm just going to pause and have a drink, and then we'll be back. Okay, so I'm back. A lot more time's passed than you might think, actually. Anyway, the power of pausing a video. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a data table now, so then we can create sort of like a list of things. There are a few bits and pieces that we're going to need to do here. What time are we on now? 20 minutes, that's fine. So I'm probably going to do a timestamp halfway through where we just kind of change subject. So, data table. So effectively, if you think of a data table almost like an Excel spreadsheet or just a spreadsheet in general, it doesn't have to be Excel, but you're going to have rows and columns, and they're going to have obviously columns are going to have the same data typically on each column, and then the rows are going to be sort of like each item, and that's basically the way it is. Um, the thing is, with data tables, it needs to follow a certain structure. So each of the columns need to be identical every time. So it might be like name, color, icon, that sort of stuff. Quantity, yeah, I don't know. You never know. So we're going to follow sort of like a structure for that. So let's go to, and I think they've moved this since I last used it. I think it's miscellaneous. It used to be data. So let's have a look. Oh, it is there. Yeah. So miscellaneous, and here we go. We've got data table. So let's create a data table, and it's saying, well, what's the row structure for it? What sort of pattern am I picking? Now we've not got one yet, so we need to create that. Right click, miscellaneous, and we should find structure. Do, do, do. Or is it going to be under blueprints? It is. It's under blueprints and then structure. So I'm going to prefix this with S underscore, and I'm going to put item list. Items available. All items. I don't know. You need to think of an appropriate name for this. I'm going to go for all items. Maybe we add the capital T. There we go. All items. So obviously try and keep these appropriately named because you might have a lot of these depending on the size of your game. If you think of like an MMO, there's probably tons of structures depending on the types of class of items that there are. There might be a structure for weapons, there might be a structure for consumables, there might be a structure for armors. You name it, there's probably a structure for it. Spells, type of spells, for example. What's the spell name? What does it do? What does it affect? How it works with like the gameplay ability system, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so a structure. Effectively, we just need the things that make up an item. So for us, I'm going to start with the very first one. Now, I can't remember what data type that we actually used. I think it was text. This is this widget here. Let's open up the object. HUD object item. So it's a text and a texture 2D. So text for the first one, and this is just going to be called item text. Okay, so let's add a variable up at the top here. So the next one needs to be a texture 2D. So texture 2D down there. Object, oh, not that one. Texture 2D. Oh, not 3D, 2D. Texture 2D, object reference. Great, and this one's going to be item image. Okay, what else do we want? We might want to know a quantity, possibly. Quantity. And we're going to put this as an integer because we only want whole amounts. We don't want fractional amounts. And I don't know. Let's add another one in, just because we can. Let's say rarity. Rarity. Whoops. Rarity. There you go. Rarity. And what's this one going to be? This one is going to be a slate color. Here we go, slate color. I might need to change that. A slate color is typically the type which is associated to sort of like font colors and stuff like that. I will have to check that, which I guess we can do now. if we go to, so it should be this one here. So let's just open this up. Nope, it's not open up. Typically, if you hover over stuff, it usually likes to tell you what its type is. I'm pretty sure it's a slate. So what's this? Color and appearance. Let's go to the graph. Grab the text. Get text. And we want to do slate. Oh, slate. Make slate. Set color. Here we go. So I'm going to go for the function. Set color and opacity. In color. Make slate color. Slate color. Is that what it is? It's a slate color structure. Okay, so what's this? Linear color structure. Let's try the one. Set color. Yeah, I'm gonna go for the other one. Okay, so it's always best to double check. If you don't know, don't guess, just double check. So what was that? Linear color. I'm sure it said linear slate, but linear color. Let's leave it at that. Hit save. So now we've got a structure. So we've got a text, a texture 2D, an integer, and a linear color, and that's for item text, item image, quantity, and rarity. Technically the rarity should be like really good. To be fair, I'm going to set rarity based on color. So gold is like legendary, or purple might be the best, whatever. Grey is common in most games. Green is uncommon. Blue might be rare. So yeah, I'm probably going to go down that route. Keep it quite industry standard. So we've got the structure. So that's the main thing. So we don't need to open that structure unless we've done it wrong. But let's go back to our third person folder and blueprint. So here's our structure that we've just created. Now let's create that data table. So go back to miscellaneous, go to data table, and we need a structure to use. So we're going to say S all items, hit OK, and I'm going to call this DT for data table, and I'm going to call this all items database. Yep, all items database. Open that up, and you can see here that this data table has already sort of adopted the structure's sort of column headers. So now as we press add, you'll see great, right. So we've added effectively a new item to this data table, and it's already given it the ID of 1. So this is the first item here. Now it says new row. Can we rename that? We can. Row name. I don't know how important that is, so I might just leave it. I think in the past I've set this just to the same as the row number, so 1. But I'm pretty sure. Let me just delete this. Delete. Hit add. They're going to sort of like append or increase as you go along. Let me try something. What's probably worth saying here is what you can do is you can take a CSV file, or you can take like a spreadsheet and export it as a CSV, so you can have sort of like a Google Sheets of all of your items, all of your colors, something saves somewhere else, and you can just import it, which is typically what I do, and it'll import as long as you have a structure set up. You can basically just import your entire item database in one go. So I know some games like RuneScape, for example, you can look online and get sort of like item databases, and it gives you like the ID, what the name is, blah blah blah, and you can just import them rather than just adding it line by line like we're going to do. But it's completely up to you. So anyway, new row. I'm just going to leave it as new row because I'm not that interested, to be fair. So item text. Let's just think of some random stuff. So a health pack, image text. Let's just say it's going to be sorry, image. Should we say? Is there anything interesting health packy wise? Probably not. This green icon. Quantity 1 and rarity. I'm just going to set this to a grey colour because it's common. Okay, let's add a new item. So this one's going to be a shield. Oh, I always do that. Shield pack. Why not? Follow the name. We'll put this as the red one, quantity 1, and this one is going to be sort of more unique. It's rare. Obviously, I'm just picking a random color. You probably want to set this. You could just set it to a rarity of 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then in the blueprint, just say if it's 0, this is the color. If it's 1, it's this color. That it's the same every time. But I'm on the spot here, so don't shoot me. This is definitely not the best way of doing it, but we're interested in a data table, so that's all that matters. So let's add another one, just so we've got a couple more items. Let's do some rifle ammo. And I'm using sort of weapon related stuff, but AI spawn icon, quantity 10, rarity again, random grey colour. Add some more stuff. I'm just going to pause it here while I add a bit more junk, just so you're not having to watch me do this. Okay, so I don't need to get too carried away. I've just added a few extra items, put a couple of rarities up and what have you. Obviously you can carry on with everything that you need in your game. So we've got a data table. So effectively we need to get this into our list somehow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to make a few changes. Obviously I've set this up where we're picking stuff up, but now we want it to sort of auto-populate. So I am actually going to disconnect all of these sort of like all these pickups. What I am going to do though is I'm going to keep this when we open up the inventory. We're going to, well, this opens up the screen. I'll keep that, but everything else at the moment has just been disconnected. Right, what is the best way of going about this? So what we need to do at some point in time, we need to go through each item in that list and add it. Now, where you put this bit of blueprint is quite important, but it's not going to be the same for everybody. For this video, I'm going to put it in the HUD itself. But you might want to put it in like your game mode or inside a game instance or an achievement manager. You might want to create a component specifically for doing this functionality. I don't want to get bogged down on the best place to put it because it's going to just delay this video. But it's something you're going to need to consider depending on the game that you are playing or making. So what I'm going to do is on the event construct, which is effectively the event begin play for a widget, I'm going to say get table raw names, and then it's going to say what table do you want to get the raw names for, and I've only got one, so DT all items database. What this is going to do is it's going to go through and find every raw name. So it's going to be like new raw 0, new raw 1, new raw 2, 3, 4, and 5, whatever. And it's just going to give me an array of, well, there's 6 items in this array. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to say for each. So we're going to go through a loop. So for every sort of row that is in this list, what we want to do is something like get data, data table, get the, I don't think it might be that. So the array element goes into the property name. So get all the row names. For each of them row names, whatever the name is, find the row name in this data and then return. I don't think I want it as a string. I want it return it as a structure. Can I? Let me just check something. Make s underscore. Here we go. Bear with me a sec. I can't remember the actual node that I used. Okay, so I found it actually. So it was get data table row. So get rid of that. So what we do, array element, get data table, and you can see there right at the bottom, get data table row. So when we connect this into the loop body and tell it which data table we want, you'll see that this out row now changes to the wildcard. So if we drag this out, you'll see now that it's saying break S all items. So it's outputting. So for each item in this database, it's going to go through every row that there is. And for each of those rows, it's going to find me all of the information that I'm expecting. So that's absolutely great. And then what you could do is you could add that into an array itself to then be added to the list. But what I'm going to do, because we're going to go through each of those, is let's get the list. What are we in here? We're in there like that. If we grab the list like that, get the list, and then let's just go back to our character. I'm getting lost in my own thoughts. So list tile view, that's the one. Tile view. So if we get the tile view, then what we want to do is add item. Oops. Add an item. Okay, we need an object. So row found, add item. Oh, bloody hell. What's going on? Oh my god. I'm getting tired now, so sorry, bear with me. So we need an item. So what we need to do is for every row that we find, we need to construct an object. Construct an object. The class is going to be obj underscore, there we go. So obj underscore list item object. And then we're going to need this information. Now, this is where we actually need to change this object because now it's still expecting just a bit of a text and just an image. Whereas now we've got all this extra information where we've got the quantity, the rarity, and some other stuff. So what we can do is go to our object list item object, and now this is probably going to break a few things, but I'm just going to delete these variables. Am I sure? No, I'm not sure, but let's go for it. Variables, add a variable. What we're going to do is we're going to change the type to s underscore all items. There we go. And we're going to change this to s all items. Let's put an underscore there, items, and then structure. Okay, and then we want to set the instance to editable and expose it on spawn, just so we can get into it. Okay, let's go back to our HUD and let's refresh this node. And you can see there that it's just expecting this structure. So for every row, now we can just plug that straight in. So instead of us having to manually connect all of these, we're just saying for each row is going to conform to this structure. So let's just pass in the entire structure into the object, and if we use all of the information, brilliant. If we don't, so what? It has all the information that it could possibly need. So for every data table, go through and find, for every row in the data table, go through and get all the information from each row, And then for each row, this is going to be an individual item. Let's create an object for this to display, and then that return value is our item to add to our list. So we should automatically get a list of all of the items in our list. Obviously, you don't need to go through and add all of these. If you was to make sort of like an achievement list, this might be ideal because you might be able to list all of the achievements possible in the game. What you could do is in your structure, let's go back to the structure. Obviously, I'm trying to cast the net as broad as possible, so sorry, bear with me if things are getting a bit confusing here. I'm trying to sort of like tackle a little bit of every scenario that you could want. So for achievements or anything really, even quests, you might want a boolean here to say visible. Visible. And if it's true, display it, and if it's not, don't. You could also have the same thing pretty much, but unlocked. Is this quest or is this achievement unlocked? And then you'll probably want another one that says complete. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into this. And as you're going through each of these, you could then break and but I didn't save it. But imagine there's a bool here that's true or false. If it's true, do this. If it's false, don't do it. So only if it's true, like if it's unlocked, do this thing. And this is where you may want to connect this part. I told you this is going to get, honestly, it gets really big. This is where you may want to connect this list part to your visibility. So as you open it, it does a quick check to say, right, am I adding everything to the database? You probably don't want to go through this part every time you open the inventory. Yeah, okay. I don't want to. I don't want to give you too much broad information either because it might get a bit confusing. But effectively, what we're doing is we're getting the data table, going through, finding each row, getting the data from each row and creating an item for it and just straight adding this to the list. So we're just displaying everything that's in the data table. So every item that's possible is going to be added to the list. One other thing for inventories. What a lot of games do is they might have a massive list of all the items in the game. So let's say ID, so item ID number 500 might be a portion, and let's say item ID number 1 might be a cabbage, or let's say item ID 1654 might be the mystic sword, or something like that. What you can do is you can relate back to this data table and find an item row with an ID. So find and then data table. Oops. It's in one of them, so it's using a combination of these two. So look in the data table for this row. The row name might be ID 562. So get data table. Yeah. So look for the row number 587, which might be the item that you've picked up. Let's say. Then it goes, oh, okay, yeah, I know what this item is. This looks like that. Yeah. So these are all the rows. This is where having it in an Excel spreadsheet or a spreadsheet is easier because you can go through and ID everything, and then when you import it, instead of new row, you get ID 123, and you can use those to sort of identify items. Anyway, let's test this. I'm yabbiting on, and we're at 45 minutes, so I need to wrap this video up. So hopefully this doesn't crash. So what we've got here, we're constructing an item, and we should add it to it immediately. Let's hit play. Oh no, it's broken. Let's check this out. This is probably because I've disconnected. Yep, I thought so. Let's just disconnect that. Compile, that doesn't run anymore, so disconnect that and that. Compile, we're all good on this side. What else did we break? Let's press play. Let's go to that item. Okay, right, this is fair enough. So what we're saying is, in our HUD, we are constructing this object and we are passing in this structure. In our list item, this is the actual thing which is going to be displayed. What we're saying is, when an item is added, effectively, once it's set, what we're going to do is we're going to cast to the object that was sort of added, but we're going to update the text on our widget to be the information that comes in. So this is what we covered in the first video of doing that. Obviously, previously we had this display image and display text. I've now replaced that with a structure. So this is obviously arrowing, and because I was rabbiting on about inventories and IDs, I forgot to do this. So as the object, what we can do is get the variable. I can't remember what we called it. So get s all items structure. That is what we got. And then what we can do is, because this is a structure, we can break it. So now with this structure, we have access to all this information. So this brush is expecting a texture, so item image, let's pop that in. This text is expecting a text, so let's pop that in. So we've just switched these around. So this hasn't changed, but now we've got some extra stuff. We've got a rarity. So let's try and do, so display text, here we go. So get, oh no, sorry, set, and then color. Here we go, set color and opacity. So let's do that, plug that in, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to grab another one of these texts actually, just so it looks a bit cleaner. Pop that off. Okay, so what do we need to do? Let's make a slate, and we'll forget that rarity, pop that straight in there like that. So we're getting that slate color now. What are we missing? So quantity. So we've not actually got oh, it is this one. We've not actually got a place to put a number. So let's just do that really quickly. I'm going to add an overlay to the vert box. I'm going to put it at the top of the vert box so it's above everything. And then I'm going to chuck a text inside that. And that obviously hasn't done what I... So I think it's the vert box which is doing this. Should I undo that? Right, first, for simplicity, size was going to do that. I don't know, Blair. Right, so vert box wrap, wrap with overlay. Don't like the way that works. That should. Okay, I'm going to scrap this. I don't have the brain power for going this far. So text, vertical box, add a bit of text at the bottom. I'm going to set this to centered like that. Do I want it to fill? Instead, leave it on auto. Change the font to 10. And this is going to be, let's go to, let's just type in quantity, just like that. That's spelled wrong. Okay. Let's go to graph, and what we're going to do is go back to the designer because I'm rushing now and I'm messing stuff up. Quantity is a variable, so this is going to be quantity text. Quantity text is a variable. Yes, it is. Go back to the graph. Quantity text. We're going to get that reference, and then we're going to set text. So you want that one, set text. Connect that up. The in text is going to be a number converted to a string. So quantity, drag it all the way over here. We'll do the conversion for you. Bring that box all the way down here, and this should work nicely. So we're using this structure to sort of allocate all of the so the expected input. So we need the text for what the card is. We need the brush texture for which image it is. We need what color it is for the rarity, and then we've just added this text for the quantity. Obviously, you're going to spend a lot more time on that, making it look nice. If you do use an overlay in the right order, what it allows you to do is it allows you to put a number over the top of the image, just like in the top right hand corner, which is quite a common thing to see in games with inventory systems. Save, and I think we should be able to run now. So if I press I, so there you go. So you've got, actually, just noticed the text hasn't displayed, which is an interesting one. So item text, item text, item text. That should all carry through. Item text. My only thought now is that that row is no longer big enough. Or is my text too big? Let's just try something. Let's go to face, go to fill, change that size down to 9. Compile, play. Okay, I'm not entirely sure. The quantities have definitely populated at the bottom. I've got a feeling that all the texts that I have put in are too big, too long. So we get rid of health pack, get rid of the word pack, whoa, that back. Shield, rifle, of course it did save. Come on. Oh god. I don't work well under pressure, do I? Let's just call this super rather than super grenade. Save. I don't think my widget was big enough, and I'm hoping my widget were big enough. Hit I. Okay, so I've broke something somewhere. However, what you can see is each of the icons which I assigned and the quantities have correctly pulled through. That no longer works. So that was a pretty bad wrap up to the end of the video, so I do apologize if the end of that got messy. I have tried to fit quite a lot into one video, and I definitely regret doing that now. Obviously, in the first half, we made an item to be picked up. We talked over the interfaces of how you can communicate once you've overlapped something, and how to carry that data from the item into the list. And then on the back end of the video, we've created a structure and a data table, and we've looped through and somewhat added all the items to the list. Now, obviously, if that was achievement 1 or achievement 2 or achievement 3, you'd see that pop up. Now, what I might just do is I might just pause and open up another project where I've done that with an achievement list in the exact same way, except I've put a lot more time and effort into making that list look a little bit better, and it wasn't rushed under the pressure of recording a video. So I do apologise that that didn't work quite as smooth as I expected towards the end, but improvising on the spot, some things are bound to break. Please have a go. If it doesn't really work, just leave me some comments down below. If need be, I might re-upload this video and make improvements. But if the majority of people can follow along and it's okay, then that's great. That will work for me. So yeah, I'll probably pause at the end, but for now, if you've managed to get through this video, and it was worth your time, please consider giving me a like and a thumbs up. That's really appreciative. If you didn't like it, please let me know why. Don't just leave me a dislike. Let me know why so I can improve on it. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. But I'll leave that with you. And if you want to get in touch and if you want to be able to send me pictures or videos or just it's just a bit of an easier way to chat, there's a Discord link down below. There's not just me, there's other people as well. So sometimes other people get involved and sort of can answer the questions for me. And I don't know everything, but that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned if you want to see the achievement list on another sort of project that I've done. But that's it for now. So thanks for watching. Okay, so as promised, I've loaded up another project. This is funnily called Unreal Warfare. It's a bit of a rip-off of Call of Duty in my own touch, just something I messed around with. And I just want to show you, I've got this achievement list. So when we open up the game, we get achievements, and they're all data-driven. So what we've got here is a structure, which is the name of it, the description. Is it visible or hidden? What's the achievement color? Is it unachieved? Or sorry, different colors for if you've got it, it might be green, and if it's not, if you've not got it, it might be grey. If it's got multiple stages, whether it's going to be like kill 10 people, kill 50 people, kill 100 people, kill 1,000 people. So there might be multiple stages of that achievement. The icon that goes with it, and whether it's completed, yes or no. So that's what's driven. So then in the achievement sheet, we've got sort of role name. I've got so let's say target practice 1, target practice 2, target practice 3. The actual display name is target practice sort of Roman numerals. And then the description is shoot 1 hidden target, shoot 5 hidden targets, shoot 10 hidden targets. So they are layered. It's got different stages to it. There's different colors to each of them, and we're gonna work through. So you may notice the names. Some of them are kind of stolen from other games, but obviously this is my own little development. And when we play the game, so we jump in, we've got this game, and then when I hit U, I get my achievement list. And you can see here, the achievement list, I can scroll through, each icon's there with what the requirements are, and then when you sort of complete one, the text changes color to suggest that you've completed it. And that's it. And then you can carry on playing the game. So yeah, that was just a quick show of what I've done. You can see as well, the other thing is, as I've gone into this, my mouse has appeared, so you can sort of click on it and do stuff. So that's pretty neat. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another one. Bye.